partner at SOSV, Tzahi Kanza, managing partner at FutureBlock, Karen New, who is the co-founder at Blockchain Mastery Labs, and last but not least, Edward Ng, CEO at One World Fintech Solutions. So the format of today's panel discussion is on laws of investments during the pandemic, followed up by a presentation from Edward Ng from One World Fintech Solutions. So I would like to pass the floor now to our first speaker, William Du, who is a strategic advisor at Waiver Global. William, could you please start by a short intro of yourself, and then I can ask the question. Thank you.
Thanks, Sonny. Okay, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm William Du from Kuala Lumpur. I represent a company called Waiver Global. So, okay, I'm a strategic advisor. The company has just did the registration deal in the US to raise money, to raise fund for their STO in the US. Okay, and my full-time job is actually with Ingenious Haus, a financial services company which I set up 16 years ago. We do private equity, corporate finance, we do IPO and M&A, okay, across Southeast Asia. We did a few IPO in London and Australia. Okay, currently we have SPAC on London Stock Exchange. Okay, unfortunately our first two deals didn't happen. Okay, and the SPAC is actually created for financial services company. Okay, so of course we would like to look for related opportunities in the financial services sector. All right, yeah, that's a nutshell about myself.
Okay, thank you, William. I've got a question for you before I go over to the other speakers. So thanks for the introduction. So what are your current investments in the last 3 months once the pandemic hit the economy, and why did you choose to invest in these if you invested in them? Thank you.
It's very interesting. On the second or actually third day of the lockdown in Malaysia, I started online coaching services. Not services. I actually did online coaching, half an hour session. One day I allocate 4 hours, and it was good. So we have I have over the last 4 months I've done probably 70 over sessions of coaching, and the result of that is we actually involved in several deals now. Okay, one of them is called Pentai. They are in the Fintech space. They are in the robo-advisory. Okay, so at this moment we have raised 1 million ringgit. Okay, about 250,000 US from equity crowdfunding in Malaysia. So the deal is live now, and in Malaysia, because the government is trying to help the SMEs, and for every dollar that we raise, the government will match 50 cents. Okay, up to 250,000 US. Okay, so there's one deal. And a second deal that we are involved recently is a company that does online delivery. Okay, they actually deliver what we call it the village chicken to your doorsteps. Okay, so the founder actually visited a few farms. Okay, after realizing that it's very difficult to get fresh chicken during the lockdown. Okay, and most of the shelves are cleared because everybody went into panic buying the first 2 weeks. So what he did is he did an initiative and he visited around 10 farms in KL and struck a deal with them and start delivering chickens. So within 3 days, the CTO actually created a portal, and there we go. We started the business. Okay, so far they have sold around 30,000 US worth of chickens. Okay, and these are the not the normal farm chicken. These are the so-called the village chicken, where the chickens are running free. They call it free range chicken. All right. So this is our second deal, and we actually signed 25 million US LP investment from LP just before 1 month before the lockdown, and of course it was on hold. And interestingly, 2 weeks ago, we are in touch again. We are in speaking again, and they actually asked us whether we would like to have more money. Okay, so instead of 25 million US, they're asking us whether if we give you or if we invest 50 million, are you able to take it? And of course, as a salesman, we'll say yes, no problem, right? So now we are looking at the education sector. Previously we were thinking of acquiring university and colleges, okay, and slight change of plan after the lockdown. So we will still acquire 1 or 2 good private universities in Malaysia, and of course Singapore, and and the rest of the funds we want to deploy into edtech. Okay, so now I think for the last 4 months, everybody is online, studying online, experiencing online learning. So we want to get involved in that space. So edtech will be one of our key focus moving forward. Right, so these are some of the deals that we get in, we are involved for the last 4 months.
Excellent. Thank you, William. That was incredible because EdTech obviously is the space to be in right now. The online, yeah. Thank you. Next speaker is William Bao Bean, who is the general partner at SOSV. William, please start with a short intro about yourself. William, you're on mute.
Yes, we're actually probably the #2 most active investor in EdTech in Asia. So I've got quite a portfolio I'd love to show you. So we're SOSV. We're the accelerator VC, about 740 million US under management, started in 1996. I joined as the fund moved from family office to institutional fund 2014. We invest globally across 4 verticals: hardware, biotech, food tech, and ag tech, but I run internet and software. And we help startups from around the world expand to Asia and expand cross-border within Asia. As a fund, we invest in about 40 companies a year. So we're the #2 most active VC in the world and the most active in Asia. And I do about 45 investments per year. And across both enterprise software, SaaS, as well as consumer. On the blockchain side, started investing in blockchain Fintech in 2015 with 4 companies. I got lucky. We're the only VC in a company called BitMEX, which is now, I think, the #2 most active crypto exchange in the world in terms of trading volume. And according to the press, they're worth $8 billion. I think that the founders are very happy. They still own, 94% of the company. But then took a break. Most of our blockchain investments are in our traditional industry, so blockchain to solve problems for traditional industry. But end of last year, we went back to blockchain Fintech, investing in 4 companies: VegaX, Coverio, as well as Sequake and TabTrader. Because we think it's time for crypto fintech products. So pretty excited about that. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Thank you. EdTech is all the way to go. Thank you, William. So the next speaker is Tzahi Kanza, who is the managing partner at FutureBlock. Tzahi, would you like to start by introducing yourself and take the same question, like what are your current investments in the last 3 months? You are on mute.
Yeah, sorry. First of all, thank you for inviting me. I'm happy to be with you today. FutureBlock is a blockchain venture studio. So our main focus from day one is blockchain startups globally. We take a look mostly at very early stage blockchain startups, or startups that are not very early stage, but they are moving into blockchain because they see value in blockchain. So our model is that we are looking for a startup with good teams and technology for sure, and we are with them, bring them to the next phases. This is one of our major activities. And our second activity is we also run the Malta Accelerator for blockchain startups. So the idea in Malta is with the Malta government to assist startups from all over the world to use Malta as a gate for sure for Malta, but also to the whole European Union. And here the concept is a little bit different. The main idea is to get support from governmental bodies, which in the last month are really in the focus because a lot of private investors are more let's say hesitative, and governments are more open in their pockets. For us, for our strategy with our portfolio startups, we have 15 startups in our portfolio, and And we saw a very different things, related to each one of them. It depends on the topics and their stages. So one of our strategies in the beginning was to take a look at our portfolio and take a look if the plan is going well, and if not, then we do another round from the current investors to keep our startups running. We invested in two of our digital health startups. One of them with an American fund that we co-invested. So we are, as the same, before, we're still looking at promising blockchain startups. This didn't change.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Tzahi, for that. The next speaker we have is Karen New, who is a co-founder at Blockchain Mastery Labs. Karen, please start with a short intro about yourself, and please enlighten us about the projects that you are advising currently.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Karen from Singapore. So Blockchain Mastery Lab is a company that offers advisory and consultancy to startups, and our main focus is actually to bring companies, especially from China, to Singapore, because Singapore, in terms of legal, right, it's getting clearer and clearer. As some of you may have known, Singapore just few months ago, we have the exempt payment license. And then right now, the next few months, we will be many companies will be trying to get the license. So there'll be an influx of companies who will want to do that. And that's how we facilitate companies to do it in Singapore. So we get the legal and the marketing side. And then we're close to getting opinions from our government to make sure that to get companies to get the license. So that's our main focus. And then personally, as you know, I also launched my comic book on blockchain. So education is something that I'm passionate about. And I hope that more people will look into this area, especially now that, as we can see, most of the governments are showing signs that they are approving and they are getting themselves ready to welcome companies who will be in this field. And I feel that that's an important move, because by doing so, you'll be able to attract companies to start in your company, and that's where techs come from. Yeah, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Fabulous. It's all ed tech, education tech. Thank you. So I have a very interesting next question, just to understand, after the pandemic, what are the market sentiments? Because I live in Singapore. So what are the market sentiments in the region, Southeast Asia and China, in terms of investments in blockchain and cryptocurrencies? William, would you like to take that first? William Du, I mean.
Sorry, your question again? I'm a bit distracted.
So what are the market sentiments after the COVID-19 pandemic? I mean,
right.
investments into blockchain. So how has it gone down and picked up, or has it was it all-time high, then never low? So we just want to know, what are the fluctuations in investments at all in the region?
I think that Malaysia has some sort of recovering. Okay, so I have a lot of calls from fund managers, investors over the last 2 weeks. Okay, a lot of them asking, hey, any opportunity, any good ones, right? Of course, they always check out the latest sexy stories available. Okay, but in a way, they are also very distracted. They have received a lot of deals over the last few weeks, and in fact, one of the company that I'm involved, Viva Global. Okay, so they just done their registration D, and of course they're about to start their fundraising, and there comes COVID. So they're supposed to travel to the US to do a few rounds of roadshow, and now it's KIV until the issues of COVID-19 settled in the US. Okay, because registration D allows you to raise money in the US only. Okay, I think that is nobody expect that that US will be in such a situation. Okay, but if you talk about Singapore and Malaysia, so our LP, one of our LP comes from the Middle East. Okay, so despite the oil price and whatsoever, they started to they actually want to increase the investments. And in terms of blockchain, there's a lot of development in Malaysia. Okay, one like Pentype I mentioned just now, the founder of Pentype used to be the CTO for a blockchain company who's just get approved by the Security Commission a few months ago. Okay, so they can accept, they can do actually the crypto trading. Okay, and if you look at the STO space, Security Commission, we don't call it STO, we call it there's a different term, IEO. Okay, so I can't remember what the E stands for, but in principle it's the same. Okay, so they are still they are still going through that investigation and fact finding. Okay, they are trying to see what other countries are doing in terms of the STO. Okay, I think Singapore has come up with some guidelines, and so we are still waiting for that. Okay, so I actually almost did the ITO myself in 2018. Okay, we actually started the process late 2017, and that's when the BTC and ETC, Bitcoin went crazy. Okay, but we are too late. Okay, 6 months when you're ready, and the price starts to crash. Okay, so we shelved the idea, but recently, most of the real estate players, okay, are actually asking us whether we want to revive it or not. Okay, so we are looking at that space, and investors are actually looking for something different now. Okay, of course, in terms of opportunities, they want to know that all the companies that are seeking funds, okay, should take note is what are the risks they foreseen. Okay, if there's a next pandemic, if there's another lockdown, okay, if there's any unforeseen crisis again, okay, so what are the risk factors and how does the company mitigate those risks? Okay, so I think once any entrepreneurs who are raising money, be it fiat or crypto, I think if you can address the risk factors, okay, and make sure you understand your specifically to your business, I think the investor will still invest, because Malaysia just reduced the BLR, so fixed deposit rate has went down. So of course they want to invest in higher yield projects or investments, right? So that's what's happening in Malaysia.
Very good insight into the region. Thank you, William, for that. Excellent. Next, I'd like to ask Tzahi quickly before I go to William Boween, because Tzahi, I mean, you are in Tel Aviv. Tell me what's happening there in the space in terms of, because I remember Tel Aviv obviously was picking up blockchain and crypto investments last year. So we would like to know what's happening in the space right now after COVID-19.
I think Israel is a very small place, and most of the things that we do is in general with cooperation with mostly US and Europe. So we cannot really separate Israeli activities from others. Maybe pre-seed, investments are coming only from here, but when they go for round AB and further, they always do it in cooperation with usually US and Europe, and a little bit, maybe 10-15% with Asian investment bodies. So here, not really many things change. For sure, in the first 2-3 months, everything was, on waiting. But in the last 2 weeks, like my friend said here, things are coming back. It's not easy as before. It's more digitally, but there are a lot of, discussions going on, and what we thought before that would be impossible, that you can raise capital without, seeing face-to-face somebody, it changed dramatically. Like I said, raised capital for one of our startups 3 weeks ago. It was a round A, not a small round A, and it was, everything digitally. So I think, we didn't believe it, but you need something like COVID to change everything sometimes, and it's working.
Absolutely. The trust is there, even though we are not meeting each other, face to face. We're still investing, as you rightly said. COVID has changed a lot of things.
Of course, of course. We just thought before, you know, to have the same thing before, we should have, you know, invested, you know, let's say at least 30 days of, you know, people in airplanes, at least 2-3 times going to US, you know, to meet the people, you know. So yeah, it's really, you know, you have a lot of time, you know, from people. We used to travel 3-4 months every year. And now, you know, if you can make it without, maybe it is the only positive thing from this, you know, from this COVID.
Absolutely. Sometimes it's a blessing in disguise, as we say. Thank you, Tzahi, for that comment. William, okay, I have a very interesting question for you. You live in Shanghai. You have many portfolios in India. India is, I mean, the country which is obviously, the volumes of crypto trading has gone up humongously over the last few months. So what are your, I mean, as an investor, are you planning to invest first into any blockchain plus crypto projects in India and outside of India as well?
Yeah, so one of our, I mean, we are a VC, but we invest through accelerators. We invest, we accelerate, we help the companies, and we invest again. And one of our mentors actually was one of the group that successfully sued to make blockchain or Bitcoin, well, not illegal. So it's not exactly legal, but it's not illegal. Or it's yeah, it's just, so it's actually in a bit of a gray area. But a lot of people took the ruling to mean that Bitcoin is legal. Actually, technically, it's not. But the banks kind of just took it and ran with it, right? So people are going a bit crazy there. In fact, we invest a lot in, like I said, blockchain for traditional industry. So one of our companies, Very Smart, what they do is they've created a decentralized data marketplace. One of the big problems Facebook ran into with Cambridge Analytica is moving, third-party data or buying data or transferring data became very difficult, if not illegal. Now, but the people should be able to, hopefully use data legally with permission. But the problem is transferring it around. So we have VeriSmart, which created a marketplace where, without actually moving the data between the buyer and the seller, the buyer can actually query the data and get the answers that they're looking for. So we have companies in India like Airtel and ICICI Bank, where the bank is querying the telco to figure out, is this a real person? What's their income like? What are their spending patterns like? Without any actual data changing hands. And they're leveraging blockchain to do that. So we're not so focused on the trading sides at this point, and exchange side, because technically it's not legal yet. But we are definitely leveraging blockchain to solve problems for countries and governments in India and and across Asia.
Wow, interesting to know about the Airtel story. Thank you so much, William. Karen, I've got a question for you, because you have this comics on blockchain. So why would you develop? Is it already developed, the comics that you've developed on blockchain technology? Is it already?
Yes. Yeah. It's all done, full colored, and
okay. So my question to you is, why would you do that? Why would you choose blockchain as an underlying technology?
Oh, because I feel that in general, it's like, 20 years ago when we first have internet, we don't really have to understand what is TCP/IP, but the fact that the implication of using email or e-commerce or having video calls like this, right, is the impact that people should understand. Yeah. So by making a comic on what is the impact of the blockchain in our life in the future, I think it's what the masses need to understand. So that I hope that with that, then they can maybe learn more about blockchain technology and use it and get ready for it. For example, the example that William Bean just talked about, which is the a query of data without transferring data. I think that helps a lot in data protection and compliances worldwide by using this technology. And that is what, blockchain is really about, right? So I think that's important. I think it's important for the masses to start to read about it and understand and know how it affects your life. Yeah.
Excellent.
That's right. Yeah.
Absolutely, for that clarification, Karen. And I agree to that as well. Thank you. So yeah, thank you, speakers. So this was first part of the session today. In the second part, we have a very interesting project, and the founder is Mr. Edward Ng, who is the CEO at One World Fintech Solutions. So he's going to share some great insights into cross-border blockchain solutions using blockchain as well as cryptocurrencies, and how he can resolve some of the major issues that we face today with cross-border payments. William, are you, sorry about that. Edward, are you there?
Yes, I am. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can. Please start by introducing yourself, and then we can go over to your project. Thank you. We can hear you very clearly. Thank you.
Okay. My name is Edward Ng. What I think I'm going to do, I am going to use a short video from Hyperledger, if you don't mind, Sony, that talks about the solution side of it, because it also talks about myself. I don't have to repeat myself twice. It's only a couple of minutes, and it actually summarizes a lot of things we're doing, and we can go right into the presentation. Do you guys mind?
Absolutely.
No problem? Okay. I'll see if I can do a screen share.
Sure.
Can you guys see?
Not yet.
No.
Not yet? Okay, hang on. I thought we have it already. Screen share. Is it sharing?
No.
Not yet?
Not yet.
Hello?
Yeah.
Can you push
no.
the green button on the panel?
No, we can't see it.
I am trying to, I just click on screen share and this came up.
Yeah, and then you have to double click on that file again.
Okay, I'm doing that right now. Okay, give me one more second.
Yeah, sure.
My apology.
No, it's okay.
See now? Yes?
No, we don't see it yet. Danila, is it okay if you can share it from your end? If
Yeah, absolutely.
Edward can send you the file here in the chat.
It's already sent it there in the chat. I thought I did everything correctly.
No, there is no file in the chat.
The chat function in the Zoom.
Oh, chat function in the Zoom.
Yes.
Okay, tell you what. We'll bypass the Hyperledger thing. It should work. It's this entire screen. Okay, you are sharing screen now? You see now?
Yes, we can see.
Okay, okay. Now you can see. Can you see now?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so this is a interview with Hyperledger back at the end of 2017. I was one of the first companies that have embraced the Hyperledger technology in blockchain on the solution side. And this interview talked about my project and how I, in essence, put together a solution on use case for cross-border payment. It's about 2-3 minutes.
Sure, thank you. We don't hear any. Is there a volume there?
Yeah, it's the volume over there. No, nothing?
I don't hear any volume. What about others?
I don't hear either yet.
Oh, everything is on.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably a problem with synchronization with Zoom.
No issue, no issues. Let's skip it, okay? No issues. Can you guys hear me now? No problem, right?
Yeah, we can hear you, yeah.
Okay, so let's go to the manual mode. No issues, all right?
Yeah.
Okay, my name is Edward Ng. I'm a Chinese American, a native New Yorker. I moved into the blockchain space at the end of 2016. But I've been in the IT business since 1984, so I'm an old timer. The technology has advanced quite a bit since that time. I also spent the last 20 years in the Fintech world in Wall Street. So at that time, most of my clients were focused on the data center, the mainframe activities. This is with HSBC, Deutsche Bank, in the old days, Merrill Lynch and Lehman activities. So I learned a lot about the financial industry from the back office, bank-to-bank side. And in 2016, I looked at blockchain as a tremendous vehicle, as a technology tool to solve financial problems that we have not addressed in 40 years. Right? The financial world has been doing the same thing over and over again for a long, long time. And I thought it was a time to change. And that's when I put together a use case, again, focusing on the solution side, which is what Wayne was talking about before. Rather than talking about the hype and the technology all the time, I see blockchain as a tool, as a vehicle for us to, in essence, solve business problems. And that's really the key essence of our company when we first started with blockchain, right? So without going into too much details, we spent a lot of time putting together what we call a use case. Right? Use case is really a business process automation using technology as a support technology. And the use case is really honing on two key areas. One is what we call cross-border payment and invoice. With the lack of better words, we would use the terminology. We are going to be the second coming of Alibaba. Alibaba created a website many years ago, and they, in essence, trying to facilitate the trade for international businesses, especially the SMEs to the international community. Right? So when you facilitate payment, facilitate trade, you have to have an invoice. And for those who have gotten involved in international trade, knows that. An agreement, an invoice must be in place, and you have to pay it. And there's various forms of payment and how to handle that. And that type of procedure has not changed in many, many years. So understanding that challenge, my use case was to automate the payment of invoices using technology such as blockchain, using cryptocurrency as a transfer vehicle, at the same time, still use the existing financial services that's available, because you cannot avoid and not use the financial industry. A lot of the early adapters of technology said we're going to bypass other banks. We don't need this. We don't need that. But at the end of the day, as we all know, we still have a credit card. We still have an e-wallet. We still have some cash in hand. We cannot avoid that. Okay. So by combining the old school, which is the traditional financial industry, and the new school, which is cryptocurrency as a transfer vehicle, we came up with the best solution we think would solve the invoice management side of the business for cross-border payment. Okay. And as time goes on, within the past few years, we also extended our business from the cross-border payment side and invoice space to what we call asset management, because the SMEs that we do business with is, Edward, we also have asset. We need to figure out how to leverage our asset to pay invoices, to, in essence, finance our operations. So the combination of the asset management, and in this case, in crypto world, we call it asset-backed token, okay, or STO. Any type of securities or asset that you have, a cryptocurrency can assist, right, in tokenizing, right, that value becomes now a very valuable tool, again, to solve these problems of raising money, creating liquidity, paying invoices, and doing business. Okay, so that's the general nutshell of our company. Right? I do have a little PPT. I can run through really quick. I know I only got 20 minutes. For those who want to ask questions later, I can be more than happy to answer them individually. Okay.
Sure.
So we'll bypass. Can you see the screen?
Yeah, we can.
All right. Okay. Let me see what I can do here properly. Okay. So bypass this here. This little self-portrait that my background's in the Wall Street area. Anybody that's in New York City, they want to visit New York Stock Exchange, give me a call and I can make the arrangement. Okay, I'm a welcome guest there. Okay, so here's an old slide that I use to give people a perspective of the old school, new school. Some of the data in here is a little bit out of date. It's only about a couple of years old. If you look at the upper right side, currently in 2020, the BTC market cap is about 117, 118 billion dollars. Okay, the total market cap is about 270, 268.8. And oddly enough, after the passing of Steve Jobs, Amazon, Jeff now becomes the one of the wealthiest men in the world. His net worth is 170 billion. Okay, so he himself has higher net worth than the whole BTC market cap. Right? But at the same time, you go toward the left, going from Amazon, Apple, with their swap space now, USD currency, 1.5 trillion, going to the gold, going to the physical money, stock market, to all the M2 money that's available in the marketplace, which is the currency that's being used in the world. Cryptocurrency is a very, very small piece. Right? So 83.6 trillion versus the total market cap of cryptocurrency of only 267.8 billion. So that put everything in a nutshell. That's in essence what people have to realize. Cryptocurrency is still at the early stage of adaptation and infancy. And we must still understand and accept the old school and how to, in essence, transition blockchain and cryptocurrency to work within the old school system to solve the problem that they have not able to solve. And in essence, this gap would slowly but surely would close. The next page here is talking about cross-border payment as the traditional sense. So anybody that sent a wire transfer that paid an invoice have an idea. Very traditional, go to your local bank, they send money in a wire transfer to corresponding bank to both sides, and then the recipient on the other side of the country, other parts of the country receive the money. The SWIFT system is international standard. This is what they use to pay. And it's a lot of paperwork, very old, very slow, and it's very costly. So what we have done is that we've created the use case where it is a what we call, again, use case business automation. So from step one of generating the invoice to, in essence, recording the invoice in blockchain, and to the actual management of the payment of the invoice, whether it is 25%, 50%, 100%, having that process end-to-end business process automation developed within our platform, we will allow two business people to pay an invoice and in essence satisfy the payment of the invoice very quickly. So traditionally, when you pay an invoice through a bank, it'll take you about maybe cross-border, that is, 1 to 2 days. Here, we could probably do this within 2 hours, and we can go to a lot more technical details with that, but that's in essence what we're offering as a service. So here's a typical example where if a buyer from New York want to buy some product in Hong Kong and vice versa, we facilitate the payment of that end to end, from the actual recording the invoice to the actual now management of the invoice percentages, whether it's 100%, 50%, and pay that invoice and deposit that invoice payment into the recipient's bank within about 2-hour period. We have a lot of processes in place, and that would be handled by both the crypto side and the business automation side. Here's a slide that is very dear to me. So part of our technology offering, and rather than talking about the blockchain side, the hash, the confirmation, and the Bitcoin stuff, I'm talking about the business usage. So there is an equilateral triangle that is very important to understand. For those who use Apple Pay, WeChat, Alipay around the world, they have an idea. So you have an e-wallet that ties into the bank card. And then at times now you work with a cryptocurrency exchange such as Binance and others. Then you now have your either bank card ties into your exchange. Okay, so my model here now is to have this whole process, this 3 equilateral triangle from e-wallet to the bank card to the exchange, tied in with the API. So 90% of this activity, if not 100% activity, can be automated. So you, the user, with a smartphone and an app in your hand, can now manage your asset, which can be cash or crypto, and an invoice that you have to pay. And currently, in cross-border side is B2B, and phase 2 we would have point of sale, B2C. And that would in essence allow you to have full control of your fiat asset or your fixed asset or your digital asset, such as cryptocurrency. So that is in essence the core of our business model that allow a user right, to have total control over his finances. Right? On the bottom half of that are really dealing with operations of companies that are international. Even within a conglomerate, they have difficulty paying from one division to another, one department to another. Okay, so I dealt with a lot of SMEs. They may have 10 shops around the world, 20 companies around the world. They have to buy and sell it from each other, and they have difficulty managing their fiat conversions, their payment of invoices, and their asset management. So this is our offering. Right? Our platform provides the end-to-end solution from invoice management to asset management. So my first demo that I made on our Hyperledger solution was at the Cybos at Toronto in 2017. Right? So a lot of people that was in the banking side of the business in Toronto was very interested. There's a lot of discussions on how to incorporate the banking side of the solution with the cross-border payment side of the solution of my platform. This was actually done in invited by Hyperledger, and I was the guest speaker there. So a little bit of the technology. We have a multi-layer, okay, a multifaceted core technology. The lowest layer is Hyperledger. Okay, use Hyperledger Fabric right now, and we develop our, in essence, our tool sets and our toolkits that allow us to record data much quicker. We record scanning OCR. We can record the scheduling, the wallet. All of these things are done around blockchain and currently around Hyperledger. Okay. So key competitive advantages that we have. Okay. My background is in chemical engineering. What I was taught was you have to do something better, faster, and cheaper. Otherwise, right, why are you an engineer? Right? So this is what we're trying to do. We take a industry problem, such as cross-border payment and the traditional payment problem of paying an invoice, especially cross-border. Now, we would make it, in essence, faster, better, right, and more cost-effective, and allow the user or the business owner to control his own invoices rather than have somebody else control the invoices. And the payment of invoices has to combine the traditional old school fiat and the new school cryptocurrency and blockchain. So this is our rate card. Right now, I moved my platform from China, Hong Kong to Dubai. Part of the reason why I think William probably mentioned that earlier, and others, you know, cryptocurrency in terms of the legitimacy in China went through some major changes, and the idea of going from fiat to crypto and back to fiat was very sensitive. So I felt that, and this is at the middle of last year, that it's best to move into a territory that I still have full access to the international trade hub and financial hub, yet the cryptocurrency business is still accepted, and we don't have any government legislation problems. Okay, that's the reason why we're in Dubai. So this is the rate card that we have, all of the services, right, that we would provide to a SME and a business owner on cross-border payment and also on asset management. I have a full business white paper in this and a full deck describing the services. And one of the reasons why I guess I was asked to speak today, Sony was very kind to say, you know, Edward, there's an opportunity for you to meet investors here, and please talk about the potential IEO and the offering of your token. Again, I came from the old school, so I always thought that we had to create the solution first and make sure that the company is profitable before we sell any assets or any tokens for the company. But as in the cryptocurrency space, since the ICO days, the whole world's been turned upside down. So in this case here, we're just on the pre-Series A crossover stage into profitability. And I think the timing is good for us to offer a platform token, which is a utility token that is used for cross-border payment. Right? And we like to think that we can raise between 6 million to 25 million. Again, I'm using a lot of the correlation to our friends at Alibaba. We're trying to learn from them what they've been successful in doing, and I think that this kind of financing in pre-Series A going to Series A will be very important to us. And in the near future, we have a lot of operational projects from our onboarded clients that wants to also do asset-backed tokens, you know, whether it is in gold, whether it is in real estate, and various other fixed assets that they have in place that are commodity that can be, in essence, digitized or tokenized into a token. Right? Those token now becomes a what we call a digitized asset or tokenized asset, then can be tagged to our utility token for cross-border payment. Right? Typical situation, even for instance in Southeast Asia, a lot of farming. Right? Farmers needs to have cash. They need to have a way to exchange buying of their goods and services or their equipment. So having a cooperative asset-backed type of a token for co-op farming allow these farmers to do business with each other, right, without constantly going to the bank and dealing with the cash situation, right? The use of proceed and the breakdown of the percentages is on the right. Okay, so it's very, very explicit. Operations to global expansion, to marketing, and to development. You know, right now we need about probably 3 to 6 months with the final development for the full automation. We have the system working. It's in a manual mode. We need a little bit more work to automate it, right, with the API.
Great.
Okay, so that's really what I have to present. Anybody have any questions? Feel free to ask. And any particular interest with our esteemed investors in the panel today, I'll be more than happy to talk to you individually.
Thank you, Edward, for that very crisp, to the point presentation. I hope
I didn't take up too much time, okay?
My personal favorite, I have to admit. Thank you, Edward.
Okay. Thank you.
Now, thank you. Now we would like our judges to have questions, starting with William Du. I mean, you're new.
Hi, Edward. Okay, just
Yes.
to ask, you have mentioned a lot of activities have done. So you mentioned that you're already cash generative, right? You have done the business already?
We're still in a pre-series A, so we haven't gotten to a profitable mode yet. Right?
Okay. So the proof of concept, everything is done. You have
yes.
Players testing your products already. Okay.
Sure.
I think what you do is, can you send the deck over later so that I can get
Sure.
my team to look at it, because personally,
Sure.
they will be more appropriate to comment on the project. Right?
I appreciate it. Yeah. So keep in mind that cross-border payment is a very broad service. So what we've done is that the core technology and the business process automation is 80% done. The final automation, the API tying into the e-wallet, to the bank card, to the cryptocurrency is the last stage for the automation. And then the user can do it by themselves, just like in Alibaba. You don't have to call Alibaba to ask for a search for a vendor or a client, right? So they become a user-directed type of service, right, for the SMEs. So I'll send you the full deck, okay? The business white paper.
Excellent. Thank you. Right. Thank you, William. Unless you don't have any other questions, I'm quickly going to move to William Bao-Bin.
Sure. Do you have, what's the reason why you haven't launched? Is it because you don't have the licenses yet? I mean, what license did you acquire? And do you think it makes some transfers perhaps more manually? Because, yeah.
Excellent question. So when I was in China, I was expecting to, in essence, obtain a cryptocurrency license, and that whole industry turned upside down, as you know, the last few years, right? Okay. So I look at the fact that with our business, William, there's two forms of cryptocurrency services: either our own cryptocurrency license, which is our own exchange, OTC, and or for invoice management, and then we have a partners exchange, okay, such as Bitrix and others, who we can tie into the exchange with API. I know the chairman of and the CEO of Bitrix. We talked about our solution. He's very interested in working with us, right? So that's really where the challenge would be. It's not really a big challenge. It's a business relationship more than anything else, as you probably know. Okay. We looked at Malta. You know, when we felt that we look at the global market, whether it's one central location can be enough to service the various hubs. And I find that we definitely need to have local hubs also. So in Dubai right now is a central hub for Middle East, Europe, and Northern Africa. We need to establish various hubs around the world to make at least our own exchange available to manage the currency side, William, so that we can have, say, Euro, we can have British pounds, we can have USD, and we can have RMB, yuan, okay? So it's more currency-based than actually regional-based, okay? Did I answer your question, or did I not answer your question?
Well, so you're not, you're going to be relying on your partner's licenses, not yours, right?
At the present time, William, we need to get our own license. No question. Example, we are getting involved in bank cards right now. We working with our banking relationship. They're issuing us prepaid MasterCard and Visa. Right, so we can preload the MasterCard and Visa. But at the same time, I've been invited to Iceland to consider looking at an EU banking license from Iceland, which have access to EU currency and EU market. Okay, so we need that equilateral triangle as our core, and whatever we don't have on a regional basis, William, we need to, of course, work with our partners. Look at the business model at Alibaba. They own 30 plus companies, 35 plus companies. I would say 3/4 of them are partnerships, as you know. Okay. Right.
Thanks.
So we still need our core. We still need our core, William. We still need our own license. We need potentially we need our own banking license also. Okay.
Thank you for that answer, Edward. Tzahi would like to know what questions you have for Edward. You are on mute.
Sorry, I actually saw a few cross-border, payment solution based on blockchain, starting from almost, not, I don't want to say 2009, but a little bit, after that.
Yes.
So what is the unique things that you want to offer? And this is one question. And the second, one of the issues, with cross-border, and I'm not talking about private people that are looking for, payments, is about trade finance. And in trade finance, one of the main issues is, credit. So for sure, for crypto, it's very easy to do instant payments. But most of the economy is not based on cash. So
right. So it's a good question. When I put together the use case, I looked at the technology. So cross-border payment has been talked about since 5-6 years ago. Okay, people see cross-border payment as just sending a value, whether it's fiat or crypto. Right? That's only the transfer side. That's the vehicle side. That's not the solution. What I was talking about, and maybe you could understand the concept I have, it's not just the sending of value, but the automation from the actual generation of the invoice, scanning the invoice, OCR on the invoice, recording the cost of goods sold, the VAT, the taxes, okay, the shipping, okay, when the invoice has to be paid, yes, and what percentage has to be paid, what paperwork has to be attached to it, to get your bill of lading and all your receiving information, all that is recorded into one stack. So the accounting department of a business, of an SME, get everything in one place based on the invoice number, rather than going all over the place, trying to put together a big pile of paper to pay an invoice. So that's the real service that we have to offer, not just the sending of the value. And another thing I want to address also is an interesting point. We in the business feel very comfortable sending you a coin and getting paid. That's only 10% of the people in the world, maybe 5% of people in the world that's comfortable with that. 90% of the people in the world have no idea. So you're sending me a what? Well, you're gonna send me a BTC from Russia. How am I gonna get dirham in Dubai? Right? So what I'm trying to say is I have to combine both the old school and the new school so that, sure, okay, you have BTC already. You don't have to send me Russian rupees. Send me the BTC first. I would, in essence, go through my processes, put a custodian account, receive the BTC, record it, sell your BTC, get the bank charges to convert that into dirham, so that you actually now have dirhams in your hand. So that's the business process automation. All right, not just sending a BTC. So, most of the technical services people say, well, it's so easy. I just send payment to my friend. So the invoice is paid. I says, no, that's only the transfer side. There's so much to cross-border payment and invoice management that has to be addressed as a use case. Okay. I hope I answered that question. Okay. Right. So it's really a business process automation. Blockchain is a vehicle to record the transaction. Yes. And crypto is only a transfer vehicle. And sometimes you have to combine both the fiat and the cryptocurrency to pay an invoice, not just the cryptocurrency. Okay?
Absolutely. Thank you. Liked it.
Sure.
Tzahi, if you don't have any questions, just move to Karen for the last question of the session. Yeah.
Hi, I'm just wondering exactly exactly who will be your first customer. Because when you talk about business process automation, there are ERP solutions out there that is going to be integrated into the blockchain.
Great question. I will show you the slide I showed earlier where there was an equilateral triangle, and I see if I can pop it back up. That slide was created for a reason. This is going back to last June. A medium-sized conglomerate, they have 20 companies around the world, okay? They have a lot of asset in South America, they have some asset in Europe. They were struggling how to pay each other, buying and selling goods and services from each other within the conglomerate, dealing with the payroll. So the early adapters would be SMEs that have multi-branch across the world doing business. Okay, and there was actually we have one contract with a small company. Believe it or not, there's a French company headquartered in Singapore. Right? They import and sell truffles, and there are 5 different divisions throughout Taiwan, Singapore, Hong Kong, and China, and they were struggling paying each other the invoices. All right, so these are the SMEs that we're initially targeting for our fully automated cross-border payment side. Now, the larger companies, they actually talk to us on an annual contract beyond the traditional invoice management side. They talk about asset management. Okay, so we have now a company that wants to raise money to manage the invoices that we have or the inventory that we have. So the asset management side kicked in. Can we help them create an SPLC? From that, can we help them create the tokenized asset? All those things are these advanced solutions for the major companies. So there's 2 levels of business, right? The traditional SME invoice management side and the asset management side that are the back end to paying an invoice. Okay, that's our targeted customer.
So Karen, does that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, great. That brings us to the end of the session tonight. I would say it was an amazing session, very crispy presentation from Edward. My personal favorite, I loved it. And thank you for speakers for your time today and for your valuable, judging today. And let's stay connected through our VCTV. You can actually log on to our other sessions at www.latoken.com/crowdfunding/VCTV. So thank you. Over to my colleague Danila to close the session. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great day.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.